For God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. You're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com. Welcome to episode 38 of the Powder Monkey Podcast. Thank you for joining me. As I was preparing for this episode tonight, I was sitting on my deck watching the sun go behind some very, very dark clouds, and out of nowhere, the wrath of God sprang up, and lightning and thunder. There were no red skies this night, but we're on a high sea of lies, and so nobody better to be with me tonight than the gentleman who is joining me, the Chief Communications Officer of the World Pirate Radio Podcast Network, Japhy Ryder. Japhy, thank you for joining us on the Powder Monkey. I'm honored to have you aboard, sir.
Well, I'm really grateful just to have the invitation. So, thank you, and let's get this show on the road.
Yeah. I mean, you have I kind of surf the net, the podcast verse for different voices and different flavors of what I'm looking for, in commentary and news and patriotism, and you kind of just, I think, found us on I believe it was Minds, and yeah, I mean, we're I'm grateful to have had an invitation as well to to your show. Like, again, you're the Chief Communications Officer of the mighty Robin Hood. So you're a brother from another mothership, as it were. And our message, even though you are in right now, it's dark where I'm at, but the sun is shining, hopefully, where you're at, and so we kind of have a yin and yang, as above, below type thing going on there with that. So we'll try and harness some of that magic. We've got an hour, plus. It's a long format. You go until you're tired, but we're going to have to try and save the world to whoever's going to listen tonight in that amount of time. So it's a lot to unpack. But again, thanks for being on, man.
Yeah, connecting with you via South Korea today, as always. Of course, that's the way that we operate. Of course, that's where I'm based out of and have been for the past nearly 20 years. So the Pirate Radio Podcast, though, which is the flagship, of course, to the wider WPRPN.com network, the People's Pirate Network, we've been around since about, I think it's December of 2015. So I've been busy with a number of other projects over the years, and it was just in the lead up to that time frame where I guess the stars were all becoming more properly aligned, cosmic tumblers falling into place, and I was being sucked into all of this, really just drawn to what I really cannot help but think is my destiny. So when I was younger, there were people who, via our local radio station up in the central interior of British Columbia, they encouraged me actually to drop by for I don't even know what you would call it. It's like a reading test or something like that, basically. And which I did. There's a long story behind that as well, too. And it's mostly because of the voice, as it were. But to me, I long ago realized that there's a lot more as far as, being a host that is required than simply having a decent quality voice. It's like looking at a really hot car, let's say, and then you take a peek under the hood and find out that there's no engine inside or something like that. So It's like, what kind of an airhead are we dealing with here exactly? So yeah, I've been working on brushing up my delivery and everything else over the past number of years since we kicked things off back in the day. But I know you didn't ask me really to give you much of a thumbnail sketch as far as what I've been up to, or what our project is all about necessarily, and the
Actually,
like. Just
it's almost like you were reading my list there. That actually was one of the things. I mean, I definitely think what you're doing is on its just on its face. Just skimming through your website, on the initial, load, it was, it was great, man. You have that, you're a patriot in the 1776 worldwide movement. And you kind of mentioned that, you're in South Korea, but that's by way of the Great White North. And so, it seems like a lot of Canadians, for some reason, I have a good friend, Scott Spidell. He's been on my show. He's running for the PPC party now, just because he is, he just, that's his fight. That's, and now I mean, just over the past few days, he's got, I think, something coming up in about 30 days, he told me. And, man, it's just, they're driving up into his yard now and at night, and I don't know. It sounds really crazy. And
is there some intimidation tactics, or what's happening?
I mean, I think that's what he's feeling. He's in Nova Scotia, and he's a patriot. His grandparents fought. And his family fought in the the Nazis, and it's just it's just in his blood. And a lot of Canadians, for some reason, they even though atrocious things are happening, they are at the forefront of saying hell no, when you actually get down to it and you're in the trenches with the people, digitally at least.
Well, we're hearing warnings time and again, aren't we, from people who grew up behind the Iron Curtain, and they're saying this is exactly what it looked like when it came to us, pulling the same tyrannical extreme measures, and whittling down on our freedoms and basic rights, liberties, you name it. So we've got to draw a line in the sand and dig our heels in. The only problem is, of course, you never want things to get violent.
Right.
They do.
Of course. That's,
So, but that's, Yeah, but let's just back up for a second and talk a little bit. Circle. I hate, if there's two things that Biden and his press secretary Psaki have ruined, it's the expressions "come on, man," "come on, man," and circle back.
I was
Circle back.
actually about to use that. We're connected, man. We are connected.
I think if I was ever with her, it'd probably be more a case of circle jerk. So.
She's a redhead. She might, who knows?
Yeah, she might be down with something like that. I was thinking about this.
They're Democrats,
I'm not sure what else more she's really would be good for, unfortunately, because
I would say a sniff or two, Japhy. I would say she'd be good for a sniff or two.
Yeah, I've had redhead girlfriends in the past, and it's quite weird actually, because of my mother's a redhead, and I don't know what's that's all about.
Yeah, I don't even like that we went there, though. I'm sorry.
Well, but hang on. No, was I more attracted to them, or are they more attracted to me? What's going on? So I have no idea. But that's all in the past now. Although the Korean wife, I must say, she's got this fetish for dyeing her hair red, as a lot of Korean women here do. It's this they call it, is it henna? I don't know if that's the right term or not, but just like a hair dye that they use. So
right.
And there we go. But anyways, now where are we trying to circle back to from this point exactly? That's the question.
Well, from basically you were talking about Biden, and it's he's laughable in so many ways, from corn pop to hairy legs to, his policy in Afghanistan, which that's not even laughable, I guess. I'm sorry. He thought it was funny. But I guess the thing that we're all missing, Japhy, and is this whole COVID thing is going on, but we all know it's about control. It's about getting people in that mindset where they are malleable, and they have that Stockholm syndrome. And so, but we're forgetting that there were what was it? I think I have the American Military News pulled up. Talking about when was it? In December. When did that come out? Yeah, December of 2020. And everybody's forgotten this for some reason. But the Australian leaked a database. It was a database leak originally reported by the Australian. It revealed identities of nearly 2 million CCP members, thousands of which were discovered to be employees by Western businesses and government agencies, and 79,000 branches of the CCP. Now here's a few names that we need to keep in mind, because I bet you've heard them before. There were 54 members on AstraZeneca, 69 members on Pfizer, 287 on Boeing, Skunkworks. And if this list is valid, now I don't know where it went. I remember it coming out. I don't know if you remember hearing about it.
Sure do. We just reported on it again yesterday. I just draw it to people's attention. That's right.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So there you are. So now the same people, and they're not taking this vaccine. And I'm not worried about YouTube. I'm going to talk about it because, and that's in my notes. We'll not circle back to that, but we'll get to the point where, with it, Japhy, we just have got, we've got to wake up and understand that if you follow the money, like I don't know, who some of your heroes were, but if you follow Batman's advice was always follow the money, and look at who is in charge. We are being given over to a corporatocracy, basically, and
kleptocracy, corporate or oligarchy, and kleptocracy, which means, I don't know if you're aware, maybe your listeners aren't 100% clear, but that's just rule by theft.
Oh yeah. Let me do this though. I always ask my guests this, and like I said, you're like this pirate guru that I found floating with his, with his black flag out, and just, I mean, doing your thing. But where did it start for you? I mean, I always ask people that. What was your moment where you had that epiphany that it wasn't what we perceived freedom to be and life to be, and that we're actually in that that Orwellian nightmare. I mean, what was that moment?
Well, I was really leery of power, I guess, all through my teenage years, right up to the point of university period as well. And finally, on September 11th, that was the deal breaker, really, just to watch the events of that play out and to see what the way it just seemed a little too convenient for some people. You say follow the money, cui bono, exactly. Who does this benefit? And that's what any good crime investigator, actually not even just any, you could even be just a total hack crime investigator and sleuth, such as ourselves. Well, I shouldn't speak for you, of course, but speaking for myself, just total hack crime investigator, no Sherlock Holmes exactly, but someone with some basic critical thinking abilities at his disposal. And it was only, speaking of university, it was only within that context, because I'd enrolled in a philosophy course, Philosophy 101, as I recall, that they finally presented to us this whole business of what logical fallacies consist of in their most basic and raw form, things like ad hominems and false dilemmas, and the like, basically. There's a one I was using just last night on air, which might have thrown some people for a loop. Fancy Latin terminology, post hoc ergo propter hoc. Makes you sound really smart, of course, right? But it just means after this, therefore, because of this. Another one I was thinking of today, just before we went to air, as a matter of fact, is what we're seeing here with respect to COVID, the way that these bastards are playing the whole chain of events, and that we got to remember that correlation does not necessarily establish or prove causation. So the comment that one of our friends and fellow pirate mateys made here via a Skype room that we share here is, millions are trapped in one hospital dying. This is the work of the Sith Lord Darth COVID. The only way we can defeat him is suffocate ourselves using face diapers. So he's a very cynical type individual character, as you can imagine. But the emphasis, you see, what the media are continually, they're just such a I don't know who they think they're really fooling. I suppose some people, once again, but they're pushing this whole business of how, oh well, all these deaths now they're COVID related. They have absolutely nothing to do with the vaccines, of course, right? As is what they want to lead us to believe. So that everyone is dying only from COVID, not from the vaccines, and that's where they are doing their best to establish the causal connection. So, which is not true at all. Well, I think really my impression, if you look at Israel and Gibraltar, of course, is, among other places, is that the folks that are really, I mean, these are heavily vaccinated populations, and they're all coming down with COVID in the biggest way possible. So, but just to circle back to what you had initially asked, what was that awakening moment for me. Throughout my life, I was someone who did ask questions. I didn't always necessarily buy into the official line. Didn't always necessarily reject it either. It just really depended.
Sure.
As you would imagine, someone who tries to exercise basic reason. And the fact is, let's not forget, folks, we live in an absurd idiocracy. So to think that most people even function on the level of reason is really asking a lot. And
Yeah, very
we
true.
gotta, yeah, because they just simply don't. And not even the legal system, which you'll never hear me refer to it as a justice system, because it's not. And I encourage all others there to give that some thought as well too, because there's very little justice to the legal system per se, unfortunately. You would hope that there was, but they haven't proven themselves to this point yet, at least not in my books. But no, September 11th really was, I guess, the deal breaker. The Kennedy assassination, that was something I'd reflected on over the years, what had actually taken place and how that the official narrative didn't necessarily square, as it were, with what had quite possibly transpired.
Yeah.
But when I saw Oliver Stone's JFK, and I guess that was 1992, I went home that night and I actually had difficulty sleeping because of the movie that I had just seen. It really got the wheels turning and asking a lot of questions. And I know that Stone's depiction of events in Dallas, aren't likely the best. Although he did work with Jim Mars, from what I understand, and the whole Caught in the Crossfire book, of course, and so he had that going for him, and there's a lot of good work that he did do, obviously. But 9/11, September 11th, and there is, they say, from what is it, from JFK to 9/11 to COVID 1984 and Afghanistan. Let's not forget. Everything is either a rich man or woman's trick. I think you and most of your listeners are probably familiar with that documentary. That's what we're up against here. People talk about they're asking themselves now, who won the Afghan war? Well, let's put it this way. It wasn't the Taliban, even though they've reestablished their presence back in Kabul and other regions across the country, and it wasn't the Americans. Clearly, it was the big banks and the
military
financiers,
industrial complex.
There we go.
Yes.
So, but September 11th, it really, that's what really just I right there I could see. Unlike Alex, unfortunately, who I don't know how much he talks about it these days, but I mean, look, we're in World War V right now, and with September 11th, for the longest time, I saw that as World War III kicking off. But our chief of security, Kaiser Schuff, who is a former on the ground, he was a contractor of sorts, so just a private military contractor, security,
Blackwater type.
Yeah, basic mercenary, gun for hire kind of deal, that had served several tours of duty in Afghanistan, that he talked about, what the hell was it now, with respect to, oh Christ, I only got a couple hours sleep last night. This doesn't happen too often. Just to complete the thought with, I totally lost the thread now where I was going with that one. So help me out on this one.
I mean, and again, the, with Afghanistan, how, are you, I guess you're referring to the initial occupation or are you referring to See, because I mean, Afghanistan is another thing. Just to kind of maybe to turn it, if I could, for a second. Um, one of the things that just kind of shocked me, and another thing that I don't think people are really catching, just like this whole, 2 million plus CCP members around the world, and
Right.
controlling the same corporations that are telling you have to take the shot are sworn to the government that is not taking the shot. Their citizens aren't taking the shot. Our military's being forced to take the shot now. But to turn it around again back to Afghanistan, you know, eh, the big thing about that whole I don't know if you saw the piece that ran. I think I saw it on Fox. Was the reporter asking him how he felt about the poll, CBS poll, where a vast majority of the American population felt he wasn't competent to handle, he didn't handle the Afghanistan situation competently, I guess.
Was
I
that with
should say.
George Stephanopoulos?
He didn't use the full name, and honestly, I looked for the credits, and I would maybe assume, but honestly, Japhy, I don't know who it is. I looked to see who it was, and they weren't very clear on YouTube.
I'm just to be clear on this front and particular instance. I just thought you're referring to the Stephanopoulos interview that had taken place recently. I haven't seen the whole thing, but
it was on the 22nd, and so
his numbers are tanking, though. There's no doubt about that.
Oh well. Here's what's scary, Japhy, is on the 13th, the DHS issued a terrorism advisory, a heightened threat, and if you look for the report, an MSNBC clip, I had it pulled up, and then I had some technical difficulties we discussed, so I kind of lost. I just kind of dumped those clips, and I said no, we'll talk about it instead. But I was actually going to play them, they're basically, he even the talking head there even used the word a terrorism advisory aimed, and then he changed the word to basically saying he was basically Biden's comments after he laughs about the Afghanistan situation is that he says that terrorism has metastasized, and so after
the commentator said this, or Biden did?
Biden said this, and so after on the 13th, DHS, says, hey, well, people who disagree with election fraud, people who don't want to take the shot. Yeah. Now, this is no joke. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And now on the 22nd, after laughing about the Afghanistan situation, he's basically saying, well, we need him for a bigger threat. And so
we need who for a bigger threat?
Well, basically, he's saying, we're pulling our boys out, and, he's saying that they're needed for other Al Qaeda-like operations
at home.
So, yeah. And then, as 7, 8, what is it? 9 days after the DHS terror alert advisory. So, I mean, it's not hard to see what they're saying and what they're doing. And this isn't just America. I know a lot of people have buy-in. Like I said, a lot of Canadians, when they talk about, what's happening, they use the term we. They don't say you all or, everybody's bought into, to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think it's a fair,
man. I mean, I wish Canada had a Second Amendment, actually, a real strong Second Amendment like America does. And for that reason, we need to do something about that, frankly.
Well, you all have a charter there, don't you? Is that what it's called? A charter or a
Charter of Rights and Freedoms? Yeah. I wish I was more up to speed as far as legal expertise was concerned. I know that in 1982 that the current resident the Prime Minister Trudeau. He's the first to second and to third, as the French in Quebec, the way they pronounce the name is a Trudeau. But also, or Justin Castro, if you if you prefer, which really, I mean, you put those two men there, next to each other, and it's like, whoa. And Maggie, his mother, Maggie, she was running around partying with the Rolling Stones, out of Club 54 in New York, and just really, she was manic depressive, and she came. It was a big deal where she, in years after, her days of really struggling with that whole issue, that she kind of came clean, and I think has done what she has been able to improve herself on that front. But one of the symptoms is that you turn into a real whore, basically, and your sexual, the decisions that you make when choosing sexual partners is often finds itself very much compromised, shall we say. But his mother too, she's a Sinclair, which is very interesting because this goes back to the likes of William of Sinclair, as I believe he is known, central player in the building of Roslyn Chapel. There is a Knights Templar tie-in there, and so on and so forth. So there's a reason why I would not be surprised in the least if Pierre was aware of this back in the day, and he himself, as you may remember, he constantly in his lapel had a rose that he would use as a theatrical prop, and which in many would seem to indicate perhaps a Rosicrucian angle to what his whole agenda was all about. But now, hey, let me circle back to what the thread that I lost just a couple of minutes ago. It came back to me, and this is the thing, is that this does happen on occasion. It's quite embarrassing, especially as a host or as a guest or what have you. But it happens to the best of us at times, of course. And I dose myself with ginkgo where I can and keep the brain cells functioning at a level where they should be. But so our chief of security, Kaiser Schuff, who you should get him on your show as well too. I think he'd be a worthy candidate, someone who is once again seen his fair share of time in the field, and put his life on the line, not just for his country, but also for a paycheck too, I suppose, when it came right down to it. So it's not only patriotism, it's also just whatever he felt it would take to put food on the table, sense of adventure. Some guys, alpha males especially, it's all about the adrenaline rush, and whether that means you end up losing your life or not, it's anybody's guess, really. So, but World War III, because I thought when September 11th took place, like right off the bat, like it didn't have to be a Harvard-educated political scientist to be able to see that, oh shit, this is serious. This is World War III we've got starting like right now. Welcome to the apocalypse. Which is most definitely, I'm not a huge Bible. Well, I kind of am a bit of a Bible believer, more than what most people might realize. I'm just not a fundamentalist. So I just kind of, I've got my own way of looking at things and my own special relationship with Christ that I've kind of established and maintained over the years. I just try not to wear it too much on my sleeve, like some people do, basically, and just kind of keep it to myself, if you follow my drift. But with World War III, that, yeah, sure, it's like, oh Jesus, what guy kicking off here September 11th. Schuff, the way that he kind of tipped us off and clued us in. He said, "No, man, that was the Cold War. Where September
Yes.
11th was World War IV, and
Sure.
now." With that being the case, what we're looking at here with this war on humanity, and I was saying this for the longest time, as many others, Alan Watt, now recently deceased, unfortunately. Some say he was a targeted hit within the context of this Great Reset. Although that's up to debate, of course, within the context of plausible deniability.
Sure.
But and by the way, yes, we do have a special needs cat here in the background that listeners might hear from time to time. He
Three-legged
requires...
pirate kitty.
Oh, you remember
if
well.
I recall.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Danny, and we adopted him not knowing that until after we brought him home. It's like, wait a minute, we've got a pirate cat on board. So yeah, we've got his peg leg all ready and in place. It's just that the wife is yet to put together that bodysuit still.
Do you know why I don't worry so much about all these nanoparticles in the shot? Is if you've ever heard of the toxoplasmosis, the brain worms and all of that. And I love cats, don't get me wrong. I've got this cat, and that's what I'm saying. She's completely black. We got her last October, and I have found myself meowing, singing to her in meow. So there's something going on with me, and I'm afraid I'm afraid I'm going to look in the mirror and see worms swimming in my eyes and things. Now that I've been controlled by a cat. If you've heard about the mice, they actually can't, they give off some type of bacteria or whatnot that the mice actually aren't afraid of cats, but they want to come to them. Have you ever heard that? It's a little tidbit.
What I've heard of, I don't know if it's within the same context, is the cat litter boxes, and it comes from the fecal matter, as I recall. That's where the neuroplasticity, the worms. Is that how you refer?
I joke and I say brain worms and whatever. But,
it's a real thing though, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So that's pretty freaky, and doesn't that impact pregnant women in a big way or something? Or
I'm just in it. All I'm doing, and if I end up dead, I did not kill myself. But all I'm doing, Japhy, is just saying as slyly as I can that maybe we don't have to worry about the New World Order as much as cats. That's all I'm saying there. But no, I love my cats. We've got two now, and they're like children. And so absolutely. When that's kind of why Danny kind of stuck out in my memory there. The three-legged pirate kitty. So
great.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, with everything, I mean, what was the kickoff for the World Pirate Radio Podcast Network? I mean, what drove you from, hey, this is really happening now, to I've got to fight it? I mean, but what spawned this whole thing with your crew and everything you do, there to put because it's a hell of a production, man. Every here in the United States, every Tuesday and Friday, correct?
Yes, sir. That's right. 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 out in the East Coast. That's Wednesdays and Saturdays, 12 p.m. noon here in the Tokyo and Seoul time zone. That's when we live stream. That's right. So
and you do it well, sir. I mean, professionally. I mean, you're throwing out technology that I mean, I use Skype and a Blue Snowball mic and a laptop, and I just truly pirate what I can, man. And so you're an inspiration. You really are with everything that you're doing there. Just to kind of kiss your ass a bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, and I noticed you did a little bit of that when we first connected in real live time, when we had you on the show just a couple of months ago, and that went really, really great. I haven't checked the numbers on BitChute. I think they've done reasonably well. There's, for what we're accustomed to, at least, it's got like maybe 150, 200 views on BitChute, and Odyssey, I really don't know. That's another matter. That's another kettle of fish altogether. I think they've got some really weird ways that they tabulate and keep track of their numbers. We've been avoiding Rumble for the time being. I know a lot. We download a lot of content and view a lot of content via Rumble, but just haven't been getting much traction over there to this point. So we might be going back there and kind of spending less time with BitChute, because we're getting seriously cock blocked as far as the uploads are concerned. Have you heard about that?
I heard you talk about it. I'm actually trying to focus. I'm building an upload. Scott Spidell, who I mentioned, he had something called the InfoWar Armory, and thousands of videos, millions of views, hits, and again, it just all got digitally book burned.
What?
And so,
YouTube,
yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
No,
I mean,
what the hell?
I met him. Yeah,
we got our channel in lockdown, virtual lockdown right now. It's all our videos are in private because of the crap that they've been handing us with the strikes. And Vinnie Eastwood, another great friend of ours, who has been live streaming, producing his independent underground alternative, I guess, largely open sourced shows via New Zealand for well over the past decade, and they memory hold everything that he had put together and archived over that period of time. It was really quite mind-blowing, unfortunately. So they're heartless bastards. The thing about it is if you got more 1,000 heartless commie bastards, if you've got more than 1,000, and I think really behind the scenes, because there is a fifth column presence in the West whose strings are being pulled, and
it's the same corporation we talked about earlier. Same people.
Well, it seems to me it's like the CCP.
Exactly.
Really. I mean, they're the ones. Look at Sun Tzu's Art of War. Why
unconventional? What did they call it? Was it not unconventional, but unrestricted warfare? Unrestricted warfare is something that they look at. What we're seeing on the television, the fact that everything, all the propaganda that I don't know if you remember Red Dawn, the remake.
Oh boy.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Why did we let that happen, Japhy? Why did our, and I say our, but you're in this too. Where America goes, everybody else actually right now, everybody else is going where America is about to slide into. But sorry, I snorted. That was so damn funny. But
that was a chortle.
Where were our elected representatives? Where was all of the people who were supposed to say, hey, this is inappropriate? Where are the appropriations committees and everything?
With respect to what,
they
Hollywood?
failed us.
Red Dawn 2, the movie.
Just how can China manipulate an American movie house? I mean, of course they own it, but when did corporations who are looked at as individuals who have rights and everything like that, they're corporate individuals, when did they get total sovereignty over everything? When did they get to control people by patenting their DNA and everything like that they're trying to do right now? They're trying to turn us into just like you said, people don't think. They're told what to think by TikTok in 30-second clips, and it pisses me off. Sorry for the rant, but
yeah. Well, what can you really do other than help? As Alex has been telling us for so many years, doing what he can to help light the brush fires of liberty in the minds of men.
Absolutely.
And women too. So that hashtag red pilled.
Right.
This whole business, I know it's a little off topic. I tend to do this. You'll have to just, pull me back a little bit, but well, I guess I could address the first question. This Red Dawn business is, the rewrite, as it were. You could see right off the bat that was going to happen. There was no bloody way they were going to be that honest and realistic. But to think that North Korea would be invading America, I mean, give me a break.
Right.
Come on. So, yeah, that was just, I mean, just an awful. I never even saw the movie. I refused to even watch it. And, it was just too true to reality, what's been taking place. Are you familiar with Operation Lurking Giant? There's a good chance most of your listeners will not be. It's the FBI's Operation Lurking Giant. Look it up, folks. I'll try to track down the link for you here in real live time, and you can share it maybe in the show notes or what have you.
We'll do so.
They have been infiltrating Western post-secondary institutions, education institutions, universities, and the like, all for a certain fee, of course. That there's more than your fair share of people in the West who are happy to play right along and to sell out. That's not a problem at all.
I mean, hasn't organizations like Rhodes Scholar, the Rhodes Scholars and everything like that? I mean, hasn't that been very similar? Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton,
Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. And so, I mean, are you an MMA fan? Do you know the name BJ Penn?
No, I like boxing. MMA, right. I find just to be a little too brutal. It's not. Yeah, boxing I think is more artistic, really.
I think he nailed it all over a decade ago. In 2007, and I'm not a huge MMA fan, but right. he was one of the guys that he and Jans Pulver, they both had teams, and it got turned into, of course, a reality TV show. And the whole season led up to the fight between BJ and Jans. And so they get in the cage, and the shit goes down. It ends fairly quickly. BJ wins. He comes out, and this is the essence of everything, Japhy. They, the commentator comes up to him, the reporter, and asks him, what do you think? What do you think? And he said, you want to know what I think? BJPenn.com. And it crashed his site. I mean, you couldn't, it just absolutely just flooded him. And that is, you were talking about, well, not just talking about, you raise the black every episode. And so, Gavin McGinnis and Alex, I play a clip on, just a little clip on Powder Monkey Radio that kind of just cycles through. And they're talking about how banking's been shut down. Their sources of income have been shut down. They're in their phones and everything. And he says, what do we do? And Gavin thinks for a second, and he says, we have to start our own pirate ships. And so you and I were selling the ship before it was hip, Japhy. And Oh,
I know.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And there have been others now that definitely have been following suit, including the likes even of Alex and his own way, which it's great because nobody really owns the pirate brand.
Right.
So everyone is encouraged to take part. And we do, in some ways, we take ourselves seriously. At the same time,
it's gallows humor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's a cosplay angle to things. We're also, we try to maintain a form of apocalyptimism, as it's known. uh, I didn't complete the point earlier.
Sure. I'm
with,
sorry.
with respect to the Bible and
Right.
and the apocalypse, which the term itself, it's not necessarily a bad thing so much as it means simply just that there's a lot of light that's now being uh, that's being shared throughout the world. So
I told a
it's
friend. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
lift the
ahead.
lid. Just revelations indeed, and lifting the lid to reveal what's for so long been hidden, and that really kind of shakes the powers that be, and they're going to make all kinds of preventative kind of measures, countermeasures are going to be taken to save their own skin, basically to um, see to it that they're not held to account.
Mm.
Whether it's Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, oh gosh, I mean Alan Dershowitz, geez, all these not so very nice Jewish men. Uh, you know, uh, Charles Lieber out of Harvard. There's another character and cretin. This guy's pure Dr. Evil. I've got to share this with your listeners before we wrap up here. That and Operation Secret Santa, a couple things. Just,
Absolutely. I was going to mention that.
yeah. Oh, cool. So, but Charles Lieber, uh, former head of Harvard's biochemistry department, who was arrested by the
Yes.
FBI along with two of his Chinese spy cohorts. They were picked off, I guess, at Logan Airport with 20 some odd vials of exotic bioweapons grade material, like the kind that might have quite easily been used to produce something such as, I don't know, a coronavirus,
Japhy,
perhaps. And
I want to stop you. I'm sorry, but I want to stop you because again, we're on that wavelength. I have that on a little orange note right here on my notes. So yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, but I was on the same thing. Have you heard about super paramagnetic particles? I believe they're called.
well, are
From
you talking about the patent that Charles Lieber took out, Dr. Evil?
yeah, yes,
That it's just
in
now.
some of
This is
his
just
work,
it's another coincidence that the Nat Wireless
the
weaponized
nanowire, the nanowire is what they were.
nanotube wireless. It's a weaponized delivery system to deliver the coronavirus to its unsuspecting victims,
Setting.
basically, and
Yep.
that comes on the heels of anyone who's been vaccinated. They, I guess, through the use of Wi-Fi and 5G, that's what people can be looking forward to, is what it seems, frankly, and yet the mainstream media, not that they do a very good job of it, just in the print form, basically, is all that we've found to this point. But they try to, in classic red herring type fashion, lead us off into the weeds so as to think that Lieber has nothing at all to do with what we're currently seeing unleashed upon the world and what that's been impacting us now for nearly 2 years, not quite. So he's a central player, and his
Oh,
relationship with Fauci, that is something that needs to be discussed and further investigated, because it goes back a ways, I can guarantee you.
do you know the name Dr. Lee Meredith? She
Vaguely.
okay. She was actually she mentioned him on the the Alex Jones show today.
Oh yeah,
Um, she did, yeah, and
good.
she actually said you need to look to him. That's who she studies for what we're in, and she's come out and said it. She is, and maybe you need to reach out to her. She is the I believe it's the what is it? Hell. I'll put it in the notes as well. But I think it's the medical rebel or something like that. I lost some notes obviously somewhere, but she talked about all of this just today. And again, it's the corporations controlling the technology. This has been going on for a long time. They have set this chess game up they have been playing this game for a long time. And
well, yeah, look at Agenda 2021, and then why did it shift suddenly to Agenda 2030? Why, they needed a little more time, I guess, to
why the
get everything in
crackdown?
place.
That's the thing. Very few people are taking it, fewer people than they thought. But and I know that we're running out of time. I want you to cover a lot of what you want to cover with Secret Santa. But yeah, I mean, there's just again so much to, and there's that word unpack and talk about. With all of this, I mean, it's just an onion, and the more you peel it back, the stronger it gets. But and the ship, the Robin Hood. That would indicate that you're not just a pirate, but you like to give back. And so you had mentioned things like Secret Santa and everything like that. Talk about that for a minute. Let's maybe take it out of there. I mean, how many times have you said what we just talked about? How many times have you said it over and over again? And I don't think if unless it's censored, I mean, if people actually take the time to listen to what we have to say tonight, they're going to see it. But talk about Secret Santa for a minute, and just everything that you all do, your store there, and just take it where you want to, sir. The wheel is yours.
Yeah, we don't have much of a store, actually. We got a Teespring presence in place, which is great. We got coffee mugs and T-shirts available. So any purchase that people take out is very much appreciated. We only make $1 or $2 on the sale of each item. And half of everything that we do manage to generate as far as donations and the like are concerned goes directly back to charity. That's in part what we have going on the Operation Secret Santa front. And really, if you think about it, hashtag WWRHD, what would Robin Hood do? Obviously, he would make an effort to redistribute the wealth, essentially, and profits coming in to his own organization through whatever means. Seeing to it that the people who are down and out and at their wits' end with nowhere else to turn to, nowhere else to go, that they received a bit of a hand up. Not so much a handout as a hand up. And you would not believe the difference, even in just a small way, because we're talking maybe $50, $100 donations. We're talking about people dropping by, showing up on total, strangers' doorsteps. They happen to be in the same region of a state that they share, and you have a good Samaritan, Secret Santa type individual show up with groceries, maybe medical supplies, food, clothing, household utilities, various, miscellaneous items, you name it. A very ad hoc approach is what we encourage people to take, thinking outside the box to do what is required in these difficult times. And I think we both know, and to what extent exactly, I'm not sure, but it would not surprise me in the least if in the final result analysis we were to see that suicide rates actually outpace
COVID.
The real legitimate, not the politicized numbers, but the real genuine figures are concerned, which if you look at the CDC, last time I checked, was only about 7%.
Have you ever heard the song by Don Henley, Garden of Allah?
I have not in a while. It's off of his is it what is it? Age of Innocence album or
Actual Miles is what I have it on. But
okay.
there's a fantastic line in that, Japhy, and you need to listen to it when you get a moment, because it sums up everything, and it was written in the late 80s, early 90s. He says, "There is no wrong, there is no right, just data to be manipulated."
You talked
And
about this the last time we talked when you were on our show, actually, as I recall.
and
This
it well
Garden
it,
of Allah song. So
yes.
yeah.
So yeah, but and I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. I
No, that's
apologize,
great, man.
but I
Oh.
mean it's so true, and it's they it's been it's a universal truth, and what you do with everything there. I mean, it follows that one simple principle, man. Love one another. If you show up on somebody's doorstep, and especially soon, if you show up on somebody's doorstep with a cup of rice, that's going to be a blessing. So, God bless us all in that respect. But um, we're coming up on an hour. Are you good? Do you have more to say, or do you want
Oh
to
yeah,
talk
we
about?
can, what we do with our Tuesday night news streams, we go for a full 3.5. Last night it was almost 4 hours, believe it or not. Some
Nice.
some pretty crazy stuff. But then on Saturdays with the feature guest shows that we produce, where we just have the one special individual drop by who's in the hot seat, as it were. That's only 90 minutes is basically what we aim at. And sometimes we overshoot the mark by maybe an hour or so tops. There's people who have said, oh, you should take the Joe Rogan approach, do that. It's that kind of format and style where you just go on forever. And I don't know. I think here's what we do. We produce a Rogues Gallery after show, and that's where our premium content comes into the picture. You should do the same. And we've
You
a lot of
you use
lot of other.
Patreon, don't you? Is it Patreon that you use for
We
that?
do, yeah, we do, and we've also got a Subscribe Star presence in place, but we don't promote it enough. We sometimes just receive PayPal donations from people who say, and I think understandably so, they want nothing to do with Patreon for any number of different reasons. For me, really, I just lost so much respect when they pulled the crap that they did on Lauren Southern 2 years ago, when she was part of the blockade,
Yes.
as it were, trying to protect Europe's shores from this foreign invasion within the context of the Kalergi plan, is what it seemed to me was taking place. So the people at the highest levels, the New World Order globalist crowd, the technocrats operating out of Geneva and elsewhere, of course, they know exactly what they're doing. Some have talked about it being a race to the bottom. It's a global leveling type agenda that we're seeing in place, where the first world, Canada, the U.S., and Europe as well too, as even probably it's a similar kind of state of affairs, where it's being brought down, basically, in these places and regions of the world, being brought down to the third world level, essentially, race to the bottom. It's this. If you look at the leveling movement, it does go back a number of years, from what I understand. It has English roots and origins. So I know you asked about the Rhodes Scholar, the Rhodes organizations. You've got the Cecil Rhodes, of course, and then the Milner groups, Milner's Kindergarten. You've got the Tavistock Institute. Let's not forget. So
Davos,
many other,
the World Economic Forum, the Trilateral Commission,
Sure. Do they really serve? Do you really think they serve our best interests?
Well, I mean, a lot of those things that they do, Japhy, I mean, I would think, even things like Bohemian Grove, um, I would think that especially something like Bohemian Grove, I would think would be illegal as hell, and not just for the, Hunter S. Thompson hunting people in the woods type thing, but just the, they talk shop, they talk policy, they set policy there over some horrendous shit. I would think, and that's
versus what supposedly never takes place in Freemasonic lodges, and
true
that
story.
is any talk of either religion or politics. And it's funny that they tell us that, although, well, the politics end of things I can buy into, but religion. I mean, to say that Freemasonry is itself not a religion is such a joke. They call it the craft, for crying out loud. They have worshipful masters
Yes.
that preside over the various gatherings and initiation ceremonies. They meet in temples.
Yeah.
They have various degrees and rites
Rights.
that are invoked, and so on and so forth. I mean, how much more of a religion do you want to make it exactly? And
Sure.
so if only, I don't know why it is that they are so adverse to not admitting that it is what it is. Who do they, once again, really think they're trying to fool? Is it done for? I have no idea why they feel the need to try and just totally, pull the wool over people's eyes as they do. Hoodwinking is essential. That's like a
Well,
Freemasonic type term, of course.
what's
And
really sick though is that they also have to somehow put it in your face. They have to, and maybe it's just the, the to move the Overton window or to,
that's true. No, that's true.
but I'm going to give you an example. Are you a Star Wars fan at all?
To a degree, of course, yes.
Okay. So, there's especially when Lucas had it, there was a very rich, mythos there, and they,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of background. The series, the Republic Commando series,
Mm-hmm.
Was an excellent series, and it was the Black Ops teams, the elite, and their story, and kind of how, the Jedi, commanded. There were certain Jedi that commanded these, these kill squads to go out and kill clones who just simply conscientiously objected, or had enough balls to say, I think I'm leaving this. This is stupid. So, in it, basically, they kind of talk about how, just this whole, the Jedi really did it to themselves. And you had mentioned, you had sort of referred to Star Wars earlier, but, in these new, especially with Disney, and to move the Overton window and where I'm going with all this, there's a new series called Bad Batch, and on the Disney Channel. So I love the Republic Commando series, so I thought I would sit down, and just give it a shot, see what it was, the Clone Wars. And of course, Disney did their thing, and I'm going to use the word fuckaroo, and and so
SJW fuckaroo.
they did, man, and so
Cultural Marxist fuckaroo.
Well, here's what they did, Japhy. Now, hold on to your seat. Hold on to your jaw. It may hit the floor, but they literally are foreshadowing the actual Mark of the Beast credit system.
Yeah.
In this system, kids see clone troopers not be able to get onto a bus, or get onto transportation, buy food, travel, right there on the show.
Yeah. It's called Revelation of the Method.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with that term or not, but
I've never heard it called that. Yeah.
That is said to be, because this is all part of, the high-level occultists, they look at what they are engaged in. It's long been referred to from the time of, I guess, John Dee to where we find ourselves now, up through, Albert Pike's era and beyond, Aleister Crowley, you name it. It's the great work. And all to what ends exactly, I'm not sure, other than as far as what I can what I can gather is the bottom line: the slave shall serve.
Mm.
That's a cute little catchphrase they have in place, that the slave shall serve. And I can almost guarantee you that anyone who has submitted to the vaccine, that's definitely going to improve their chances, a considerable margin on that front, that in the end they will, unfortunately, in conjunction, Liebers, wireless, Wi-Fi, 5G, nanotube, coronavirus delivery system, that ultimately they're going to find themselves in that predicament, unfortunately, to the point where it's very much immunity compromised, endless series of booster shots, and so on and so forth. It's a really sad, heartbreaking state of affairs.
See, I think that's where people have a logical fallacy, though. It's not going to be endless. These shots are designed to kill. They diminish
slow kill.
Yeah, slow kill. Yeah, obviously, but you know, and that was something I was going to ask you, because something else that you know, the guest this morning, Dr. Merritt, was discussing, was that you know, in some of these tests, with, you know, these particles and whatnot, and you know, some of these, especially with the mice, you know, they're injected, and then other mice just, she used the term rub up against. Now, I don't know if she was trying to be nice and infer that it was sexually transmitted, but you know, if it does have an HIV delivery system, if you can't give blood, if you can't nurse, if you can't give plasma after this, and I don't believe I'm misinforming. I mean, am I correct in that? If you've had the shots?
Well, I certainly have not had the shots.
Well, no. I'm just saying,
if one has, yeah, that's what I've heard. I've been hearing that. Yeah, and it depends where you're situated across the planet. Although, even though things would seem to be operating on a case by case type approach and methodology, that there is an overarching master plan where they are coordinating. I'm pretty sure that, you know, orchestrating and coordinating things via Davos, the World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg Organization, and Trilateral Commission, you name it, where these high rollers via South Korea, China, and the West, in conjunction with Europe, Africa, and so forth, that they have pretty much, you know, a lot has been put in place, and as far as having all their ducks in a row. Although, isn't it interesting to note, did you hear about the 6 African presidents?
Yes.
Who all within the course of a month were either assassinated or just mysteriously dropped dead, and on top of that,
like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, two shots to the head, or whatever. You know, Gary Weber, I guess, is the same kind of deal, and multiple, you know, significant number of others. Whether it's Jörg Haider, let's not forget, or who was the bloody hell, Mark? Why is his name not coming to mind here? He was a journalist. Do you remember him from a couple of years ago, that his car slammed into a...
Oh yeah, that was Joe Biggs' friend. Man, I would know it. I mean, we discussed it. I've said it 100,000 times, but I drew a blank there.
It's our job. Mark Eastwood,
he was embedded with, he was embedded and covered a lot of that. And yeah, he was going to, I believe, overheard something, and
Michael Hastings.
Michael Hastings. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why you're a communications officer right there.
Right. That's what our cat here is trying to communicate a little bit too. Special needs as he is. So
Okay.
I speaking of cars slamming into things and people or animals as it is getting hurt, that I really think this little kitty, that's one of the things that he suffers with on an ongoing basis is chronic pain. That's why he's not just emotionally, traumatized by his because he was hit by a car
Mm.
and he lost his half of his left leg had to be amputated, and one of his front limbs was quite severely severed. Thankfully, the vet did manage to operate and have that set back in place
Mm.
sufficiently, I guess. But as far as any lingering chronic pain is concerned, it's anyone's guess. It's
Have you
quite
given him
likely, though, that.
you
So
give
the
him
point being, go ahead.
yeah, you give him any CBD treats?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is we've got a bit of a credit because one of the sponsors to our show is the
Mm.
cannabis, rather the CannaSense Cannabis Collective. We've also got Red Dragon Herbs and Teas on board. People
Mm.
have to drop by and check out the news on Tuesday nights if they want to hear more from them on that front. Great products, of course, and that's why we've connected with them. And but we do have a bit of a credit, and we are that's something that we would really like to get on top of here before too long. And do you know about kitty or animal CBD products? Are they effective?
I,
Or
well, just I mean, what I can tell you is personal experience. And not to plug, I'm actually afraid of making money on my website. Actually, and that's a whole different tangent. But I do Powder Monkey Store, powdermonkeycbd.com. I use, and again, talking about nanoparticles, we have I sell Sealy by Design through that, and it is encapsulated nanoparticles, just very very small particles in alkaline water. You're not taking oil or anything like that. But I mean, just to be honest with you, just to be straight up, it was fantastic. Every time if I have an issue, had my right foot cut off when I was a kid, but long story short, I still have a foot, but sometimes I have pain, and it just the CBD does help. It helps with just sleep. I have fantastically real dreams and just great dreams, not stress dreams, things like that. But I don't want to get off on a tangent there. But yes, to answer your question, I have seen, we have given our dogs, CBD and things like that, and cats, and yeah, it's great. It is. They haven't said that, but I think the meow was, I got a pulse up, I believe. Yeah, but sorry, but
I forget what your last question was exactly. We got a few more minutes here. We can
yeah,
run with things. It's not a
right.
problem, but
Well, no, I mean
it's
just yeah,
time.
yeah,
As I say over with on our show, that time really does fly when you're having fun on the Robin Hood.
it does.
So,
And it's I don't know, for people who don't actually podcast, you start out with all these things going through your head, and you worry about filling, say, an hour. You think, what the hell am I going to talk about for an hour? And then it's always this paradox where you don't ever get out everything that you want to talk about. You listen to it and it's like a fight. You think, man, I should have done that, or I should have bobbed when I weaved or whatever. I should have brought that
hmm
out. But yeah, all in all, man, I think we do make a difference. Hopefully, it's not for, not every ear is going to hear what we do, but I pray to God that the ones that do it means something to, and I don't know.
one thing I'd like to get out to your listeners before we wrap things up is the fact that we are, people, you hear a lot in Western media regarding North Korea and to some extent the South. I've been here for close to 20 years, and I will tell you, folks, the South is not all that much different from the North when it comes right down to it, as far as their repressive ideology or the Confucian values.
Sure.
And it's not as bad as the Taliban, granted, but they never, one of the things they never went through was a psychedelic 60s type experience. So their consciousness has never been fully liberated. I suppose you could say it has in some respects, as far as those who have seriously practiced and looked more deeply into Buddhist and Taoist philosophy. Talking once again of liberation of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish I could speak more supportively as far as where things stand, as far as people's where their heads are at here, courtesy of the ROK, the Republic of Korea. But check this out. North Korea, the repressive, tyrannical regime of Kim Jong-un, the DPRK. You would weed is completely 100% legal, not a problem whatsoever. Whereas here in the freedom-loving democratic South, major prohibition factor at play. And it's taken very seriously, almost to the extent that you find in the same kind of manner as to what you hear about out of places like Saudi Arabia. It's that bad. Yeah, it's pretty extreme, pretty harsh. And that's only been since 1976.
See, that was one of the questions I had on my list that I referred to that I didn't think I was going to get to, is, the dynamic. So I'm glad you kind of touched on that. I mean, it is, I used to sell Hyundai and Kia. So I have a little bit of a taste of the Korean type of mentality and
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and as far as what we're up against here is an information embargo, an English information embargo, largely. The Korean media language outlets are very restrictive, unfortunately, and it's the same message being played over and over and over again, whether it's one network to the next. You know how bad it is in the West with the teleprompters, and
oh yeah,
and it's not much different here. It's all teleprompted, it's all scripted. If you go off the script, you can start looking for a new job.
Do you see the I'm going to use the word lockstep, and I'm sure you're familiar with why, but do you see that type of policy being implemented in
hugely?
Okay.
And that's a great reference. Thank you. The Rockefeller lockstep agenda. And anytime now that Rockefellers come up in conversation, I can't help but mention the Rothschilds, and the only reason being mostly is because, from what I understand, is that they have for years served as a front group family to the actual, I don't know if you say power behind the throne or what have you, but just in the same way that J.P. Morgan is said to have operated, George Soros, and so on and so forth. There have been many through history who have, done the devil's bidding.
The happy making. No, that's happy making time is what that was. It was happy making. That's what George Soros referred to it as. He called it the happy making time.
Back with the World War II when he was a kid, going out. Rounding up people's property and having them sent off to their death.
He was a
death
good.
camps.
He was what was referred to as a Judas goat. You know, he would be the little Jewish boy that would pull in the people, and then they would move in and confiscate their belongings and
Hitler had the Nazi
coming to a home near you.
Yeah, no kidding. So thank God for that Second Amendment once again, folks. And I'm not sure even how well that's going to serve people. There's definitely a lot of problems and things like no-knock, warrantless raids.
Yep.
That you're just asking for trouble.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk you there. I'm sorry about that, but I'm actually having a guy on, Chris Hill with 3% Security Force. He's coming on Saturday, and he has a friend that was killed in a no-knock warrant. Every time I go to bed, I have a door right beside, I have an exit in my bedroom, and every time I go to bed, I think, well, is tonight the night where
why would you? And here's the thing: it's that you don't even have to be up to any illegal activities. It can just be a mistake. So often they get the wrong address.
True story. Thank you. True story about that. But if in case they do stumble upon any one of my episodes, I mean, I think I actually recorded a 4-hour Facebook Live where they stole the election. DHS might have a problem with me talking about that, apparently. So I don't know. It's ridiculous, man. I've said it like this before, and I know that we're running out of some time here. I know that we're hitting the 90-minute mark here, but I've said it before. It's like a zombie movie, or it's like I read 1984 in 1984. I had a book report on it, and then you think to yourself that could never happen. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger on the Mars or something.
Good old anti-freedom Arnold, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I had to throw him in, but it could never happen. And then here we are. In this, it's like seeing a zombie movie, and you think that could never happen in real life. But, then you start seeing them walk down the street, and then you start seeing them, then they're in your yard, and then they're at your door, at your window. And, I mean, we're there, Japhy.
Who are you talking about? Zombies?
Well, I'm just saying, if you took the technocratic dystopian novel that was 1984 and you flip it over to a zombie movie, and think neither of those could ever happen. We have a constitution. We have, it could never happen. But all of a sudden, you're seeing your rights decay, just like a zombie. Well, I kind of used the double entendre there, that two different metaphors for. But what I'm saying though is basically, if it were a zombie movie, the zombies are walking down the street. If this were a zombie movie, they would be walking down the street, and there would be some bitches out there that would be calling me wanting to shut me up because I'm telling you, there's a zombie that has either bitten you in the arm or it's about to bite you in the arm. And I think you might turn into something if you do. I don't know, Japhy. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's a psychosis. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting analogy that you
true.
make. Well,
it is so true.
Even more so, I think what we're living through, another example, is simply a synthesis of Orwell's 1984 and Huxley's Brave New World. The two of them combined, synthesized, if you will, a dystopian. Now, it doesn't have to be a nightmare, of course, because heaven and hell. I would not encourage anyone to go looking for truth, peace of mind, or anything else outside of themselves. That can only come from within, and it really is up to us and it's our responsibility and choice that even in the worst type situations, you still have the choice to be happy and at peace, even if you're going down in flames. It's like the worst possible situation you can imagine. We have the choice to keep our cool and be the Buddha.
Well, you had mentioned Huxley, but it's no coincidence either. I mean, he didn't just pull that out of his ass. That was his
Right.
brother. His brother was an architect of this. So
Thomas
yeah,
Huxley.
I do believe, what was it? It wasn't World Economic. Was it World Economic? It was one of those.
Tavistock. Well,
Okay.
I just read the other
Okay.
day that
Yeah.
Huxley,
Tavistock Institute. Yeah.
Aldous Huxley, and D.H. Lawrence. So the claim goes. Who knows how true this was? But they were actually gay lovers. That's a kind of a creepy. I mean, Huxley was not. It's just the creepy image to try and get out of one's mind. But the things that go on, behind closed doors, these
stranger things have happened, I would assume.
Well,
so let's do this real quick.
Yeah.
You have been gracious. How do they get in touch with you? I know that you have one main email that you use. Basically, how do they dig you up? You've got a lot going on. You don't just stream your shows. You stream things like the David Knight Show. So you're out there, and you just are. But how do people find you and get the experience for themselves?
How did you know about us streaming the David Knight Show? Were you following what we're up to last night?
I know everything, sir.
So yeah, we do that through D Live actually. And we love David Knight. He's great. He really he's just consistently nailing it. So
I link to him. I mean, I know there were issues, but I link to him as well on Pirate InfoWars. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, that'd be great if you could get him on your show.
I should try. I really should.
Well, you got Joe Biggs, I think, is probably the biggest name you've managed to land to this point. So, and the thing that you'll notice is the more that you keep proving yourself to be someone who's not going to be going away anytime soon, hopefully, that you'll be able to attract and draw more established names. One of the things that we do, however, is we typically look for the more up-and-coming, independent, underground voices and personalities, people who are not as easily, they don't have this kind of name recognition along the lines of what Alex, David Icke, and so many others do, of course.
You know what? I respect a Patriot Thomas Pascal as much as I respect an Alex Jones. I really do. And so, my hat's off to you there.
Well, we like to give everybody a chance, and that's once again in line, in conjunction with the Robin Hood type philosophy. Very much so. Now we're open to having more established names drop by and have them booked once a month, but the other 3 weeks, typically, we set aside for the up and comers, and people just who deserve more of a shot, more of an opportunity to have their voices heard. So because there's a lot of people might not. There's just so many great people out there with incredible stories and viewpoints and opinions and theories that just we have not yet heard. We've got this platform in place that we do our damnedest to have available to the public. It's a free, largely free public service, listener supported, of course. And that's as far as it goes. But outside of that, it's completely, just there's no, you can listen in for free. It's not a problem unless you're helping up with the Patreon end of things or choose to send PayPal donations and the like. Minds.com, of course. We have.
Also, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's something I saw that I think is.
You did it again, you.
I know, dude. I'm bad.
You dirty scallywag.
But I want you to talk about you do subdomains as well, and I think that's something that maybe is. Do you still do that, or what is it? 60 a year? Is that what you do?
Member sites. It's interesting. I was talking with a tech guy here behind the scenes just not so long ago, and he was kind of chastising me, saying, "You got to get your terminology right. It's these are not URL subdomains. I still refer to them as such. I don't give a damn. But because I think most people understand what we're talking about. But member sites, URL subdomains, where you have an in-house subdomain off of our main website URL, wprpn.com / Powder Monkey podcasts, if you will, or Pirate InfoWars. You take your pick, whatever you like. Patrick Pinto. Now, those are set aside for, in a complimentary sense, for people such as yourself who've been guests to the show, who've helped out behind the scenes or been contributing in some fashion. And we really are an anarcho-libertarian styled operation, frankly. So it's all largely voluntarism is what things are driven by. But if you've got something, if you like to help out in building the network from the standpoint of web tech contributions, creativity, promotion, sales, and the like, marketing, we can definitely try to, kick a little something back your way. As far as gratuity is concerned, or just a small way of saying thank you to the tune of $50 or $100, along with on-air promotion and these in-house member site deals, which run off of WordPress essentially, and serve as an online social media hub, basically, where you can put up a couple pictures of your selection, social media links, and a bit of a description of who you are, what you're all about, kind of deal.
You become part of a bigger thing too. You become part of the fleet, I think. And like I said, I mean, just the idea. I'm sort of I guess until we connected, I'm just sort of a one ship deal. I mean, I just set it out there honestly for them to sync, and people see my things on my website, but when YouTube, bans me, I'm going to change that link. I'm going to make it dead, and I'm going to put scuttled on it, and that's going to be one trophy because, we accomplished our mission there. And that's how I kind of approached it. I think we have a little bit of a different approach, but I just want to get the message out there, and you do you really do, man. You do great work with what you do and what you bring to the table.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And one thing I'll tell you, I've learned over the years, and it's just something I've got to keep reminding myself and sharing with listeners when people do pay me compliments, is I don't accept compliments very well. I get uncomfortable when people. I mean, people are. Take people for what they're saying on face value and accept everyone's being sincere and so forth. I mean, I know I am, or else I wouldn't be saying it. If I get a problem with you, I'll make that pretty clear too. Right. But if I do support what you're doing, that'll be made evident as well in the best way possible. So thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. And let me just finish by saying, you asked about an email contact, pirate1radio@protonmail.com. That's the numeral 1. Not you don't have to spell it out ONE. Sometimes people get a little confused. Just pirate1radio@protonmail.com. I've got my own personal email address, but you probably don't really have to worry about that right now. The main website, of course, simply wprpn.com. Japhy's Man Cave is a great place for people to drop by, and they can see what, as an example of what a potential member site can look like. That's the original template, really. So, but let me just say in finishing here that, because you kind of brought it up just a couple of minutes ago, WPRPN is a cooperatively based, mutual interest, profit-sharing podcast and social media network. join us and our ever-growing flotilla as we brave the open digital high seas together. Often very intrepid high digital seas too, let's not forget. So, and there
Absolutely.
we go. That about says it all. So,
Japhy, you absolutely great episode. And ladies and gentlemen, the World Pirate Radio Podcast Network, you need to check them out, support them, and share everything. If it's important to you, share it. And that's in the 3D world, not just the 2D world. You still can go outside and do that and make a difference, because you can't be censored quite as easily right now that way. But Japhy Ryder, thanks again for coming on, and we will see you on the next episode.
Purple shrines on our head, phenobarbital makes us dead. To heaven's gate we will go, to climb aboard
for God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. You're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com.
The comet's coming, it's getting near. Our conscience numbing, we have no fear. I called my friends up and they're all here. We're putting in vodka, yeah. Was that you?